Hello Monday. Are you ready for another week of world economic news? Let's start in Mexico, in the Gulf of Mexico, and Cantarell and the crude oil production, just 2008 to 2010, first chart up on the website. 2008 it starts up at 1.25 million barrels a day. 1.25 million barrels a day. Now, today, it's just slipped under 500,000 barrels a day. You can imagine what the chart looks like. Ooh, ski slope going down. That's why Pemex and the Mexican government are calling in the private people to come and try and help them out. They are struggling. Moving on. Owner's equity in household real estate. United States of America, a nice chart going back to 1985. If you take it back further, this is the amount of equity that households have in their own real estate. It was around 70% for decades, running into 1985. From 85 to 2005, it dropped down to 60%, and the subprime little experiment has dropped it down to 40%, where it now resides. Almost nothing. And at the top of this, Joss Rosner so perfectly put it in 2001, no less: a home without equity is just a rental with debt. I'll give you that again because it is deliciously clever. A home without equity is just a rental with debt. And there's a lot of it about. Bloomberg: banks see margins widen by deposits surging to most. Interesting title. Profit margins at US banks may get a boost from increasing deposits, as customers show a preference for immediate access to their money and less appetite for risk, with interest rates at record low and the economy still seeking a bounce from a recession. Commercial banks in the US added $88.9 billion of so-called core deposits in their third quarter, bringing the total up to $6 trillion. Huge quantities of money are being left on as core deposits in the banks, with getting about that much interest on them, and people complain that the banks are getting nearly nothing percent loans from the Fed, so they can go out and get the difference between nearly nothing and a treasury at 2, 3, 4%, whatever they buy. But it's not just there that they get the money from, they're getting your money as well at nothing percent interest and doing the same. It's a good gig being a banker, isn't it? It must be admitted. ABC News: US-Mexico to launch a frequent flyer program. Now this is a bit odd. It ends with applicants, this is Mexican applicants, to get into the United States must undergo robust background checks and provide biometrics. According to a Department of Homeland Security statement, participants can use global entry kiosks at US airports to insert their passports or residency card, provide digital fingerprints, and answer questions on a customs declaration on a touch screen. Then they simply present a receipt for the transaction to customs officers to get in. What could possibly go wrong? What a lovely idea it is. Security at MSNBC.com. Homeland Security taps new partner in Terrafight. And that's Walmart. By the month's end, this month in December, 588 Walmart stores will participate in the See Something, Say Something campaign. And if you follow the link on the website, you can watch Janet Napolitano's video that will be shown in the Walmart stores. But warning, this video may induce vomiting. Time, CNN, The Curious Capitalist, gives us an article that I was going to do a whole video on over the weekend, but I didn't quite get round to it. But I would like you to read it and come up with answers. The article is entitled, Does the US Need Factories to be an Economic Power? Does the US need factories to be an economic power? I find it most interesting. I read through the whole thing, and it would have made a good video to discuss with everybody. But I find it interesting that the answer is not clear, and the answer is not clear whether the US does in fact need factories to be an economic power. And it's fascinating that the answer isn't clear. Financial Times Alphaville gives us a Pew Research Center survey of people's in the United States ideas of whether they approve or disapprove of proposals that were put forward to get the budget deficit lowered. And links on the chart will be on the website, of course, but at the top we have raise Social Security contribution cap. Now that's 64 approve and 27 don't. Freeze salaries of federal workers, 59 approve, 35 don't. And reduce social security for high-income seniors, where 48 approve and 47 disapprove. So those three: raise social security contribution cap, freeze salaries of federal workers, and reduce social security for high-income seniors. Those are all with an approval higher than the disapproval. Going further down the list, so the disapproval is marginally higher on cutback on military weapons program. The disapproval is 50 to an approval of 43. Interesting. Further down we get create national sales tax, 52 disapprove, 42 would approve. Gradually raise social security retirement age, which is moving into the bottom realm, where there's a great deal of disapproval and not much approval. So gradually raise the social security retirement ages, only 38 approval, 58 disapproval. Eliminate home mortgage interest deduction, 34 to 56 that disapprove. Reduce number of serving in military, 34 approve, 64 disapprove. Now into the last section, the last four that nearly double disapprove to the amount that do approve. Raise Medicare contributions, which is 32 to 64. Reduce federal education and road funding to states, which is almost 1 to 3. 25 approve to 71 disapprove. Raise national gasoline tax. You damn well dare, Buster. 22 approve, 74 disapprove. And tax employer provided health insurance, 21 approve to 72 disapprove. An awful lot of disapproving of ways of ameliorating the budget deficit, but the top three looked like they could be pushed by politicians who were interested in pushing these things. Reduce social security for high-income seniors would get through without aggravating too much of the population, only half of them. But freeze salaries of federal workers would get general approval, as would raise social security contribution cap. Try doing anything else and there will be trouble. Not that there wouldn't be trouble even if they tried those three. Guardian Co UK: Punch directors face anger over possible 2.6 billion bond default to cut debt burden. The start of that article, Punch directors face anger, sounds a bit strange unless you know that investors in Britain's largest pub company, Punch Taverns, which has seen shares fall by 95% in 3 years, want it to default on two loans securitized against 5,300 pubs. The loans known as, this is pulled out of the article, the loans known as A and B have been securitized against 5,300 pubs and need financial support from the parent company. Paul Hickman, a Peel Hunt analyst, said Punch would do best for investors by walking away from its commitment. Hickman said it's quite clear the bond structure that finances most of the tenancies is unstable. In other words, they should just do what we've been talking about, these haircuts, and basically the bond holders then would be the equity holders. They get to own the pubs and run them as they see fit. Punch cannot keep up the debt anymore. I'll finish with this comment that was on the Irish Economy blog. If I find it, I'll link to the article it was on, but it's the comment that's, I thought, worth putting in here at the end. It's by Brian O'Hanlon. This is my thesis, that at the moment we are applying exactly the kinds of pressures on the political classes in Ireland that will lay down the conditions that will lead to the next crisis in this country. We are asking of our politicians that they will produce hundreds of thousands of employment positions in the next decade. You only have to look at the policies of Fine Gael and Labour to see this. The political establishment has no means with which to create employment opportunities, but they will scan across the entire private sector for possible opportunities. In doing so, they will earmark many industries for enhanced stimulus and general conditions, which in turn will enable those same growth areas to become fat, over-dependent and bloated. Those industries will rely far less on fundamentals and aim towards generating hyper-growth. In other words, they will create another inefficiency bubble. I think that was a good spot, that we are demanding of politicians that they do something about this unemployment thing, which sounds good and it sounds like it's their responsibility, but leave it to them and down the road there will be trouble. Have a good week. Bye.